Hi, we will now look into how to do an audio configuration for different digital audio workstations. For each digital audio workstation, we will have two types of configurations. One, a simple one for 2-line in, 2-line out configuration, and then a complex one with multiple line ins and multiple line outs. So here are the devices that I plan to use for configuring audio for different digital audio workstations. In a simple case, I will use Electron Digitakt as a sound card which has 2 main ins, 2 main outs. And that is kind of like the basic sound cards in general. Then for the complex configuration, I of course plan to use universal audio setup that I already have in place. To refresh the memory, let's review my audio configuration. So for the simple case, I will use Digitakt as it has 12 channels in and 2 channels out. And this will be simulating the kind of a basic sound card in general, where you have like 2 channels or two channels in and 2 channels out. To show how to configure a complex audio setup, I will use the aggregate device that I have created named PR Audio. This device has pretty much 58 channels in and 48 channels out, and it is aggregating universal audio Thunderbolt devices, a drum machine, and the drums. So this is a good one to use for a complex audio configuration in digital audio workstations. One thing that I have found useful, and this could be a useful tip for you as well, when you are running a very complex configuration like this one, that you have multiple channels, you can't recall that, in which number the channel actually was in your configuration. Was it in input channel, and what was the number of that channel, or was it an output, and what the channel number was. So I have done a cheat sheet for myself where I can easily then see that if I need Moog 1 in my digital audio workstation configuration, that is like the channel 17 and 18 when I'm looking into incoming channels. I also have noted, how the patch bay cabling goes. Then the same goes for all the devices that I have in my aggregate device, that what type of channels they are using when routing the audio in. Then for the audio out, from those 48 channels, I only kind of utilize these to route audio out. And I have marked those ports here as well. So this cheat sheet is extremely helpful and easy to read compared to tedious configuration here in the system. I do find it quite challenging to look and find out, from here all the time that, if I need to configure whatever, I would need to come here and try to figure out that, okay, what was the line and where was it, and so on and so forth. So this type of a spreadsheet comes handy in many ways when configuring your audio in a digital audio workstations. Okay, let's move forward. As we now have our background covered, let's jump first into Ableton Live to see how it is configured for the audio. Okay, let's start Ableton Live and do the audio configuration in it. As I don't have anything configured, this is an error that I get. Audio configuration in Ableton Live is done under Live and Settings, and you need to have the Audio tab selected. So in Audio tab, you firstly select your input and output device. And in this case, we'll do the simple thing first. So we will go with a Digitakt. And now as I have selected Digitakt as my input and output device, I'm pretty much all set. However, I need to go and check out the input configuration and the output configuration. As we have this simple case, there is basically main stereo incoming from Digitakt, and it is actually good to name this, so you don't need to figure out that what is 1 and 2. So if we just select these like here and then say OK, and let's also close this one. Now I have no idea what these are, because they are just 1, 2, 3 and so on and so forth. So it's actually great to name them so that you have an idea what is what. Like this is a main stereo. I know that the number 3 from Digitakt represents kick, and in this case I just say kick here so that I can use that channel, and I know that it's the kick that is coming in from Digitakt. I could also configure these external inputs that are coming through Digitakt into Ableton. So this is the line left one, and then this one is the right one. So I'll name them accordingly. So in left, in right. And now I'm pretty much done with that part. Then of course I need to verify the output configuration as well. But here's not too much to configure, as the only thing is the main output, the stereo output, which goes to your loudspeakers, and that's pretty much it. You can still name it. So so then now if I'm and when I'm saying OK, you can see that that will also get updated over here in the main and the master. So it says that, you know, Q out and master out are both going into main out. What comes to the other audio configurations, Digitakt will not allow me to change the sample rate. So it's fixed to 48,000. I could change the buffer size, but the thing is that the bigger the buffer, the bigger the latency. So this is totally, of course, dependent on your system. If your system has a challenge with the CPU, so that it will go extremely high, one case to lower that and give some breeze for your CPU is to kind of increase the buffer size. So in this case, like 512 samples, it will of course increase the latency as well for input and output channels. But I'll leave it here as 128 as is, and then let's go into the DAW itself and see how it now looks like. So I have 2 audio channels. One is here, and in order to get those external lines coming in, you basically go X in, and then you can select that, you know, what line you want to use. So for example, if I want to use the main stereo, then I select that one, and I of course need to arm this track, so it's monitoring is in. So now when I play something from Digitakt, it will actually, you will actually hear it. Also, when I'm actually testing some audio coming in, like for example, now I'm playing the Moog Mother 32, you can see that the channel 11 gets hot, which is kind of the in left channel in Digitakt. So if I select that, now I can see that that audio is coming in. Of course, it's coming through master as well, but if I just basically now cut out the one audio channel and then I use the other one and arm it, now you can basically hear just the Moog in that channel 11, and even if I now press play, you can only hear Moog playing because I have this channel is only for that and nothing else. But then if I switch into the stereo main, I'll start to hear the audio coming through that or through those channels. When it comes to audio and cue out, there is not much to select. I could do it like in a left or right channel only, but that's kind of pointless in this case. So this is about the simple configuration. Then let's go and I'll just say here that no output, no input, and I reset the situation for these audio tracks. Then I go back to the settings and let's go and then go into the more complex configuration. So I will select now the PR audio aggregate device for both, of course, for input device and for output device. Let's see my configuration now. One great thing about Ableton Live is that when I have already had this configuration in my system, it remembers it, and any changes that I do here will get stored, so that when you recall an device, it will also recall the device configurations for input and output configuration. So here I have basically these two mono lines. I also have them in a stereo, so I have both options selected. Then for my synthesizers, I have these stereo channels. For synths that are mono, I get basically the mono channels. And then I have the drum machine and drum here. So I have all those already marked and labeled, so it's easy for me to pick a channel that I want to use. We will actually later look how to kind of use this how to use these channels in your configuration when you are configuring an instrument within the DAW. Let's just still kind of revisit also the output configuration. There is of course my main out, which is going to loudspeakers. I've been lazy and I haven't named it. So I could also do that now. So that's the main out. But then the lines that are going out from the DAW to the external devices like effects or external effects or whatever, I have marked them. So I have two mono channels and then the rest are in stereo. Altogether I have 16 channels. But then, of course, when you use them in stereo, it will eat up always 2 channels per line. Again, I am happy with these configurations, so I'll just close the preference window. And now here, basically, when I go into the external, it picked up my microphone by default. So sorry about that. But anyway, here you can now see that the microphone is of course active, and you can see that the audio is coming in from that. Similarly, if I would play any of these instruments, you would see that those becoming hot. Maybe actually I'll do so that I'll actually put I'll put the TR8S as a hot one, and I just run a patch on it. So now I have the bass drum or kick drum now armed only, which is coming from that one mono channel, and then here's the snare. So now when I have labeled them, it's easy for me to realize that what is what, like medium tom and so on and so forth. Open hat. So yeah, so this is how you can then use the different audio channels that are routed in. Once we will deal with the external effects, we will also do a routing to external audio devices, but I will skip that part now because I will deal with that later. Let's just stop the drum machine. Okay, so but let's just look into here. So now basically I could also route audio in, and then I can route audio out to all those channels that I have armed and made hot. And of course that was from the configuration. When you go to settings, you need to go to output configuration and you need to enable these. So when you enable them, then they start to be visual. If you don't enable them, like if I just disarm them and say now OK and go back here, then you see that I don't have those options anymore. I just have these two monolines now available because I disarmed all the outgoing channels from my configuration. So I think we have now done a quite good look at like a simple audio configuration and a complex audio configuration, and how to use them in your audio channels, and how to route audio in and out from your DAW. This concludes the configuring audio settings in Ableton Live. Next we will do it in Pro Tools. Remember to subscribe for the channel. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye now.